AITA for announcing my divorce at a dinner my wife planned to shame me? I'm Alexander, 38, and until this happened, I was the husband who still made coffee the way Brielle liked it, even when we were barely speaking. We had been married for 9 years. We had been together long enough that people treated us like a permanent unit. Invitations came addressed to both of us. Friends assumed we would host the summer cookout. Brielle remembered everyone's birthdays, and I remembered which kind of cake each person liked. We argued quietly, cleaned up before company arrived, and kept a wedding album on the living room shelf even though neither of us had opened it in years. I loved her for a long time. That matters. People tend to skip that part when they hear a marriage ended badly. They talk as if the last ugly month erased every good year before it. It didn't. Brielle had once been the person who could make me laugh when I was too angry to speak. She knew when I needed space and when I was pretending I did. We had inside jokes that made no sense to anyone else. For years, I believed whatever was wrong between us could be fixed by talking longer, trying harder, or being more patient. My mistake was assuming patience would eventually be reciprocated. The shift started small enough that I could explain each piece away. Brielle began turning her phone face down whenever I entered the room. She started going out with friends more often, which I didn't object to, but the plans became vague. "Who are you meeting?" I would ask. "People," she would say, already searching for her keys. "What people? Why does it matter?" It wasn't the going out that bothered me. It was the way a normal question suddenly became evidence against me. One Thursday, she came home a little after 1 in the morning. I was sitting at the kitchen table with a cold plate of food covered in plastic wrap. "You didn't have to wait up," she said. I wasn't waiting up. I was wondering whether something happened. Something like what? "I don't know. Your message said you'd be home before 11. She dropped her purse on the counter. "You act like asking where I've been is normal. It feels parental. Asking my wife why she came home at 1 in the morning isn't parenting." She gave me a tired smile that didn't reach her eyes. "You hear yourself, right?" That became one of her favorite moves. She would say something that forced me to defend the basic reasonableness of my own question, then watch me stumble around, trying not to sound controlling. The marriage had other strains. We had gotten too comfortable. Our conversations became schedules, groceries, bills, and reminders. I worked through disagreements by going quiet until I could be calm, and Brielle hated that. She said my silence made her feel abandoned. I said her habit of turning every disagreement into a verdict made me afraid to talk before I understood what I felt. Neither of us was perfect. I could have confronted the distance sooner. I could have insisted on counseling before resentment hardened. Instead, I kept assuming we were in a rough season. I made breakfast on Saturdays. I fixed the loose cabinet hinge she had complained about. I planned a trip for our 10th anniversary and put down a deposit because I thought a week away might help us remember how to be a couple instead of two people managing the same life. Brielle thanked me when I told her about it. She even asked whether the hotel had a spa. That detail would bother me later. Around the same time, she started using words that sounded like they came from podcasts or carefully edited social media clips. She said our marriage felt overstructured. She said she needed to reconnect with her authentic self. She said stability had become a form of stagnation. One night, while we were eating takeout at the kitchen island, she pushed noodles around her bowl and said, "Do you ever worry we stop growing? Together or individually? See, you make everything a technical question. I'm trying to understand what you're asking." She sighed. "I'm saying our life is too safe." I looked at the leaking soy sauce packet beside her elbow. Safe isn't usually a complaint. It is when safety becomes the only thing. I asked what she wanted to change. She said she didn't know yet. That answer might have been true at the time, but I don't believe it was. Our friends began hearing her version of the marriage before I knew there was a version being distributed. At a backyard dinner we hosted, Rachel brought up a podcast about couples redefining commitment. Rachel was one of Brielle's closest friends and the kind of person who could turn any ordinary conversation into a discussion about personal growth. "Some people stay married," Rachel said, pouring more wine, "but stop forcing one person to meet every emotional need." Sean nodded like he was evaluating a serious policy proposal. "That makes sense. A lot of marriage rules are just inherited." Paige, who was usually quieter, asked, "Are we talking about close friendships or sleeping with other people?" Rachel laughed. "Why does everyone jump straight there?" Because that's usually where these conversations are going, Paige said. Brielle was sitting across from me. She didn't look at me, but I saw the corner of her mouth tighten. Rachel glanced between us. Maybe couples need to redefine what marriage means for them. I put my fork down. Funny, I said, how I'm hearing about redefining my marriage from everyone except my wife. The table went still for half a second. Brielle laughed too loudly. He's being dramatic. I'm asking a fair question. You always do this, she said. You make a general conversation personal. Sean changed the subject. Everyone let him. That was how our friends handled discomfort. They moved around it and called the silence peace. After everyone left, I asked Brielle whether she had discussed our marriage with Rachel. She's my friend. That wasn't my question. Yes, I talked to her. About redefining our marriage. She wiped the counter in quick, hard circles. I said I feel emotionally limited sometimes. By me. By the structure. What structure? She dropped the cloth into the sink. I can't talk to you when you're like this. Like what? Interrogating me. Then she walked upstairs and closed the bedroom door. A week later, I opened our shared streaming account and saw a profile suggestion connected to a romantic movie I knew Brielle had not watched at home. That meant nothing by itself. She could have watched it at Rachel's place. She could have logged in on another television. I almost asked, but I stopped myself because I was tired of every question turning into a referendum on my character. Then a dinner reservation confirmation appeared in our shared email calendar under Brielle's name. 2 people. A restaurant she had once told me was too expensive for an ordinary night. When I mentioned it, she stared at me as if I had accused her of a terrible crime. It was with a friend. Which friend? Why do you need a name? Because married people generally know who their spouse is having dinner with. That's not a rule. No, it's normal conversation. She folded her arms. You keep proving why I need more space. That phrase, more space, started appearing every time I got close to anything concrete. Then came the conversation in the kitchen. It was late. The overhead light was off, and the small light above the stove made the room look softer than it felt. 2 coffee mugs were still on the counter from that morning. Mine was in the sink. Hers was beside her phone, with a pale line of lipstick on the rim. Brielle had asked me to sit down, but she remained standing. I need to tell you something, she said. I waited. I don't want you to react from fear. That opening told me she had already decided what my reaction meant. Just say it. She took a breath. I want us to consider opening the marriage for a while. I stared at her. She kept talking because silence made her nervous. I don't mean blowing up our life. I don't want a divorce. I don't want us to stop being us. I just think we're expecting one relationship to carry too much. I need freedom to experience other people and figure out parts of myself I never got to explore. There were so many polished phrases in that speech that I could hear the rehearsal. For a while, I asked, yes. What does that mean? We would set boundaries. What kind? We'd talk about it. You're asking to change the marriage before you can explain the change. I'm starting a conversation. No, you started with a conclusion. Her jaw tightened. This is why I was afraid to tell you. Are you already seeing someone? No. The answer came too quickly. Is there someone you want to see? This isn't about one person. That wasn't my question. You're trying to reduce something complicated into a yes or no trap. It is a yes or no question. She picked up her phone, then set it down again. I need freedom, not permission. I looked at her for several seconds. Does freedom already have a name? Her expression changed. It was fast, but I saw it. Not guilt exactly. Alarm. You're proving exactly why I need space, she said. So that's a yes. No, that's you being insecure. If there's already a name in your head, this isn't an open marriage conversation. It's permission after the fact. You don't own me. I never said I did. You're acting like I'm property. I'm acting like our marriage agreement matters. She slid her phone across the counter, either to get it away from herself or to make a point. I don't know which. The screen was dark for 1 second. Then it buzzed. The phone lit up between us. Cole, did he finally agree? Or are you still selling it as self-discovery? I did not touch the phone. I didn't need to. Brielle snatched it so quickly, she nearly knocked over her coffee mug. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she said, you staring at my phone is exactly the problem. I almost laughed, but there was nothing funny in me. I didn't dig, I said. Your plan announced itself on my counter. It was a joke. Who is Cole? A friend. What kind of friend asks whether your husband agreed to an open marriage? You're twisting one text. What did he mean by selling it? She tucked the phone against her chest. He knows I've been unhappy. So you've been discussing our life and our marriage with him? I discuss my feelings with people who listen. Are you sleeping with him? No. Have you kissed him? Her eyes filled with tears so quickly that I knew I had hit something close to the truth. You want to make me feel dirty for wanting more, she said. I asked whether you kissed him. I'm not doing this. She left the kitchen and went upstairs. That was the moment my fear changed shape. Before the text, I had been afraid my marriage was failing. After the text, I understood that Brielle had already begun constructing a replacement arrangement. She wanted me to approve it, but my approval was not part of her plan. My surrender was. I slept in the guest room. I used the word slept loosely. I lay awake with my phone in my hand, reading articles about open marriages, consent, and counseling. I was trying to determine whether I was being rigid. I didn't want to reject something simply because it frightened me. Some couples did make non-traditional relationships work. The common thread was honesty, mutual desire, and boundaries agreed on before anyone acted. None of that resembled what was happening in my kitchen. Consent given under threat of being labeled insecure was not consent. A marriage open to accommodate a specific person after an emotional relationship had already formed was not a clean beginning. I typed notes into my phone until almost 3 in the morning. I don't hate open marriages. I hate being cornered into one after the guest list has already been written. The next morning, Brielle acted wounded but composed. She sat at the breakfast table in an oversized sweatshirt, cradling the coffee I had automatically made for her before remembering I was angry. I think we should talk when you're calmer, she said. I'm calm. No, you're shut down. Who is Cole? She looked toward the window. He's someone I met through friends. When? A few months ago. How often do you talk? Sometimes. Every day. She rubbed her forehead. This interrogation is not healthy. Have you met him alone? Yes, but it wasn't like that. The expensive dinner? Her head snapped up. You checked the reservation? It was on our shared calendar. That doesn't give you the right to track me. Did you have dinner with Cole? She paused. Yes. Did I pay for it? That's an ugly thing to ask. It's a simple thing to ask. She pushed the mug away. This is exactly what I mean. Everything with you becomes ownership. Money. Rules. Permission. Did I pay for your date with Cole? It wasn't a date. Did I pay for it? We used the same card. That answer landed harder than I expected. I got up from the table. Where are you going? To think. You always leave when things get real. I turned back. Things were real before you told me. You just didn't include me. I drove to a grocery store parking lot and called Owen. Owen had been my best friend for years. He was blunt in a way that sometimes irritated people, but he never confused comfort with useful advice. He answered on the second ring. You sound terrible, he said. My wife wants an open marriage. There was a pause. Does she have somebody picked out? Yes. You know that or suspect it? I saw a text. I told him what it said. I expected him to get angry for me. Instead, he became very quiet. Do not fight this guy, he said. I wasn't planning to. I mean it. Do not call him. Do not threaten him. Do not give her a scene she can use. I want to break something. Then break the pattern. I leaned my head against the seat. What does that mean? It means stop debating feelings with someone who has already set up the outcome. Write down your boundary. Save anything she sends you. Look at the money. Talk to a lawyer. That sounds final. It sounds informed. I still love her. I know. I don't want to overreact. Then don't react. Act. I closed my eyes. Owen continued. She may want to leave. She has that right. What she does not have is the right to build a bridge to another man using your marriage as the support beams. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I was holding. Do not hand her a villain, he said. Give her paperwork. When I got home, Brielle had gone out. There was no note, only a text. I need some space after the way you spoke to me. I replied, Are you with Cole? She did not answer for 2 hours. Then, I'm with a friend. I won't participate in surveillance. That was the first message I saved. Not because it proved anything, but because it showed the pattern. Direct question. Moral accusation. No answer. That evening, I called my sister Hannah. Hannah was 4 years younger than me and protective in the way only a sibling can be when they have watched you excuse things for too long. She listened without interrupting until I reached the part about the text. Then she said, "She wants you to finance the exit interview." Despite everything, I laughed once. "That's not funny," Hannah said. It was a little funny. She is allowed to decide she wants a different life. She is not allowed to demand that you sponsor a trial run while keeping your seat warm. I keep wondering what I did to make her feel trapped. You probably did things wrong. So did she. That's marriage. But being imperfect does not mean you owe her permission to replace you slowly. She says I'm controlling her. You're not controlling her. You're controlling whether you stay. I didn't say anything. Hannah's voice softened. A boundary doesn't break a marriage. The person asking you to swallow disrespect does. The next day, I reviewed our accounts. I didn't secretly drain anything. I didn't hide money. I printed nothing, built no dramatic folder, and made no attempt to punish Brielle financially. I simply looked carefully at expenses I had stopped paying attention to. There was the restaurant charge from the reservation I had seen. There were rideshare charges late at night. There was a hotel charge from 3 weeks earlier. That one made my hands go cold. It was not a huge amount. It was a one-night charge at a hotel less than an hour away. The kind of amount that could disappear among groceries, utilities, and recurring subscriptions if you were not looking for it. I texted Brielle a screenshot of the transaction. "What is this?" She answered 20 minutes later. "Rachel and I used a room to get ready for her cousin's event." I called Rachel. I hated doing it, but I asked only one question. "Did you and Brielle get ready for your cousin's event at a hotel 3 weeks ago?" Rachel sounded confused. "What event?" That answers it. "Alexander, what's going on?" "You should ask Brielle." I ended the call before anger could turn the conversation into something messier. Within 5 minutes, Brielle called me. "You involved Rachel?" I asked whether your explanation was true. "You're humiliating me." "No. I'm checking whether our money paid for a hotel you lied about." "It wasn't what you think." "What was it?" She went silent. "Was Cole there?" "We talked." "At a hotel. We needed privacy. You have a phone. You have a car. You have coffee shops. You chose a hotel. Nothing happened. Did you kiss him?" Another silence. Then she said, "It was one time." The room seemed to narrow around me. "How long ago?" "I don't know." "You don't know when you kissed another man?" "It wasn't planned." "Was it before or after the hotel?" "You're trying to turn a vulnerable moment into a criminal investigation." "Before or after?" "Before." I sat down. "So you kissed him, booked a hotel room with him, and then asked me to open the marriage." "We talked at the hotel. That's all." "And the kiss?" "I told you it happened once." "You told me yesterday that nothing had happened." "I was afraid of your reaction." "My reaction is not the reason you lied." "You make honesty feel unsafe." That sentence removed the last bit of uncertainty I had about how she planned to frame this. I said, "Do not use my response to your betrayal as the cause of your betrayal. You're making this ugly because you can't handle growth. If you want to date other people, you can be single." "You're giving me an ultimatum?" "No. I'm telling you my boundary. You can either grow with me or lose me." I stared at the hotel charge on my screen. "Then I'll choose the option where I don't lose myself." She hung up. Later that afternoon, I opened a separate checking account and redirected my future personal deposits there. I left enough in the joint account to cover shared household expenses. I documented the balance. I did not touch money that belonged to both of us beyond what an attorney later advised was reasonable. I also called a family law office and scheduled a consultation. The appointment was not dramatic. The attorney did not tell me to destroy Brielle or promise that I would win. She asked practical questions. Who owned what? Were there debts? Had either of us moved out? Did we have children? We did not. Had I changed account access? No. Was I in immediate danger? No. She advised me to keep communication neutral, avoid retaliatory spending, preserve relevant messages, and understand that legal separation would take time. That grounded me. Divorce was not a speech. It was a process. That evening, I sent Brielle a written boundary. If you choose to date, sleep with, or pursue another person, I will consider us separated. I will not participate in an open marriage, and I will not finance a trial version of replacing me. I am willing to attend counseling only if contact with Cole ends completely, and the purpose is to decide honestly whether we both want this marriage. She replied almost immediately. So I have to submit to your rules before you'll even talk? I wrote back. You are free to make your choices. I am telling you what I will do in response. Her next message was longer. I'm trying to be honest about what I need. I don't want to lose our home, our life, or our future. I just need room to figure myself out without you threatening to take everything away. That message mattered. She had stated, in her own words, that she wanted the security of our marriage while pursuing something outside it. I saved it. Then another message arrived. You know I can't cover everything alone right now. Cutting me off would be financial abuse. I had not cut her off. I had stopped paying her optional personal spending from my individual income. I responded. Shared household obligations will continue to be handled appropriately while we determine next steps. I will not pay for hotels, dates, trips, or discretionary expenses connected to another relationship. She did not reply for an hour. Then, you always reduce me to money. I almost answered. Instead, I put the phone down. Over the next 2 days, I discovered more by paying attention rather than digging. A credit card alert showed another dinner charge. The anniversary trip required a final payment at the end of the week. Brielle had already sent me links to spa appointments she wanted to book there, as if we had not spent the previous days discussing another man. I canceled the trip before the refundable deadline. When the cancellation email reached her, she called. You canceled our anniversary trip? Yes. You didn't even ask me. We are discussing whether you can date someone else while staying married to me. That trip was for us. There is no us vacation while you are pursuing Cole. I said I was confused. You booked a hotel with him. To talk. You kissed him. One time. You proposed an arrangement designed to make it happen again, with permission. She began crying. I still love you. I believed she loved parts of me. The reliable part. The forgiving part. The part that handled bills, remembered appointments, checked the tires before long drives, and stayed calm when she wanted to be reckless. But being useful to someone is not the same as being cherished by them. I don't think you know what loving me requires anymore, I said. That's cruel. No, cruel would be pretending this can continue. After we hung up, I stopped covering the monthly payment on a personal expense I had voluntarily taken on for her. It was in her name, and there was no legal requirement that I pay it. I gave her written notice before the due date so she could make arrangements. She responded with 3 messages about punishment. I answered only once. Freedom doesn't come with my credit card attached. That line traveled quickly. By Friday, mutual friends began texting me individually. Sean, Brielle says you're freezing her out because she tried to have an honest conversation. Rachel, I'm not trying to be in the middle, but she's really upset. Paige, are you okay? You don't have to explain anything. Just checking. I answered Paige with a simple thank you. I told Rachel. Asked Brielle whether Cole was hypothetical. I told Sean. She left out the part where honesty had a hotel charge. Sean called me. She says nothing happened at the hotel, he said. She kissed him before it. He went quiet. She told you that. After denying it. Still, is divorce really the first answer? It wasn't the first answer. It came after months of secrecy, a kiss, a hotel, and a proposal designed to let it continue. Maybe counseling? I offered counseling if she ended contact. And she said that was controlling. Sean sighed. I just think people make mistakes. So do I. Then why not work through it? Because she is not calling it a mistake. She is calling it growth and asking me to pay for the next phase. He did not have an answer to that. The dinner invitation came Saturday morning. Brielle texted that she wanted a few close friends over Sunday night so we could clear the air in a safe setting. I read the message twice. It was not an apology. It was a stage. She had already told our friends that I was punishing her honesty. Now she wanted an audience where I would either remain silent or argue. If I stayed quiet, her version would stand. If I got angry, I would confirm it. Owen told me not to go. Nothing good happens at an ambush dinner, he said. I know. So decline. I'm thinking about it. Why? Because she's already using silence as agreement. Then send the facts privately. That turns it into a campaign. And dinner doesn't. He had a point. Hannah had a different reaction. Go, she said. Owen says not to. Owen is usually right. That's comforting. But if you go, decide before you enter what you will and won't do. No yelling. No insults. No intimate details. Show only enough to stop the lie. I don't want revenge. This isn't revenge unless you enjoy hurting her. I don't. Then it's correction. I spent that evening reviewing the messages Brielle herself had sent me. I did not access her accounts or search her phone. I did not need to. After our kitchen confrontation, she had texted me at length, trying to persuade me. In those messages, she admitted Cole had feelings for her. She admitted they had kissed. She admitted she wanted to see where the connection went. She insisted she did not want to lose our house, our social life, or the financial stability we shared. Then Rachel called me unexpectedly. Her voice sounded strained. I need to tell you something, she said. I'm listening. I confronted Brielle about the hotel. She said you're making it look worse than it was. Was Cole there? She says yes. I rubbed my forehead. Did you know about him? I knew she had a friend she felt connected to. She made it sound like nothing had happened, and she was considering whether to talk to you about opening the marriage in general. So you encouraged her. I told her not to bury what she was feeling. I did not tell her to kiss someone, book a hotel, and then pressure you. Did she ever say my name in those conversations? Rachel hesitated. She said you would probably agree eventually because you hate conflict. That caught my attention. What else did she say? I don't want to repeat private conversations. Then don't. But understand that if she tells people I'm ending the marriage because she asked an innocent question, I'm going to correct that. Rachel exhaled. I understand. Before we hung up, she said, I'm sorry. I thought I was helping her be honest. Honesty generally starts before the hotel room. Sunday evening, I arrived at the house 10 minutes after the time on Brielle's invitation. I had been staying with Owen since Friday. When I walked in, the place looked almost painfully normal. Brielle had lit candles. There was roasted chicken on the table, a salad in the serving bowl we used for holidays, and a bottle of wine already open. Rachel sat near the end of the table. Sean was beside her. Paige sat across from them. Two other friends had declined. Brielle wore the dark green sweater I once told her made her eyes look brighter. For 1 weak second, I wanted to rewind everything. Then I saw her phone face down beside her plate. Thanks for coming, she said. I nodded and took the empty chair. Dinner began with small talk so artificial it was almost insulting. Sean asked about a game. Paige complimented the food. Rachel barely ate. Brielle waited until everyone had wine before speaking. I asked you all here because rumors are starting, and I don't want our marriage reduced to something ugly. I looked at her. She continued. I tried to be honest with Alexander about feeling emotionally trapped. I suggested we have a conversation about what freedom and commitment could look like for us. He responded by canceling our anniversary trip, separating money, and threatening divorce. I didn't threaten divorce, I said. I told you the condition under which I would leave. That's an ultimatum. It's a boundary. There, she said, looking at the others. Everything becomes a technical distinction. Paige put down her fork. Did you ask to date a specific person? Brielle's shoulders stiffened. It wasn't about one person. Rachel spoke quietly. Cole exists. Brielle looked at her sharply. I know he exists, Rachel added. I'm asking whether he was part of this before you talked to Alexander. Brielle looked back at me. This is exactly what I was afraid of, she said. He has turned everyone against me. I haven't spoken to everyone, I said. You spoke to Rachel. I asked whether the hotel story you gave me was true. Sean leaned forward. Can we slow down? Brielle, did something happen with this guy? It was emotional, she said. That's not an answer, Paige replied. Brielle's voice rose. I kissed him once. I admitted that. I was confused and scared, and instead of giving me room to be honest, Alexander started dismantling our life. You asked me to approve an ongoing relationship after it had already started, I said. I asked you to talk. You asked me to keep the marriage, the house, the bills, and the social respectability while you explored Cole. That is such a cold way to describe what I'm going through. Sean turned to me. Is it really worth ending your marriage because your wife was honest with you? There it was. The question Brielle had expected. Everyone looked at me. Brielle sat back slightly, as if the room had finally moved into position. I took out my phone and placed it on the table. Do you want to tell them when you started talking to Cole like that? I asked Brielle. Or should I? Her face changed. Don't do this, she said. Do what? Humiliate me. I'm going to show 3 messages. No photos. No intimate details. Just the timeline you keep leaving out. You have no right. You invited people here to discuss my reaction. They're entitled to know what I was reacting to. Rachel looked at Brielle. Let him show it. Brielle stared at her. Seriously? You told me this was a conversation, not a campaign. I opened the screenshot I had taken of the text notification. I had not photographed her phone. I had typed the exact wording into a message to myself within minutes. Then Brielle later confirmed the message in our text argument by calling it a joke. The wording was not disputed. I read it aloud. Did he finally agree? Or are you still selling it as self-discovery? The table went quiet. Brielle shook her head. It was sarcasm. I opened one of her messages to me. You wrote, Cole knows I'm trying to get you to understand that this could be growth for us, not an affair. I was explaining the language because you were twisting everything. I opened another. You wrote, I don't want to lose the stability we built while I figure out whether this connection means something. Sean looked down at his plate. Then I showed the last one. It was a message Brielle had accidentally sent to me instead of Rachel the previous night, then deleted from her side. It still appeared in my notification history long enough for me to capture the text. He'll fold. He hates looking like the bad guy. I just need everyone to help him see that refusing isn't fair. Rachel's mouth fell open. Brielle went pale. That wasn't about controlling him, she said. I meant helping him stop reacting from fear. You told me he would agree eventually because he hates conflict, Rachel said. I was overwhelmed. You told me Cole was hypothetical. I said it was complicated. No, Rachel replied. It was convenient. Brielle turned toward me. You have been collecting things to use against me. I saved what you sent because every private conversation became a public story about me being controlling. You canceled the trip. Yes. You stopped helping with my payment. Yes. You're punishing me. I stopped funding optional expenses after you told me you wanted to pursue another man. You're making money a weapon. No. I'm removing myself as a sponsor. Paige looked at Brielle. Did Cole know Alexander hadn't agreed? Brielle's eyes moved around the table. He knew we were discussing it. That text sounds like he knew you were pressuring him, Paige said. You're all reading it in the worst possible way. Call him, Sean said. Everyone looked at him. Sean shrugged, uncomfortable. If this is a misunderstanding, call him. Ask what he thought the situation was. Brielle stared at Sean as if he had betrayed her. Then she picked up her phone. I will, she said. Because you're all acting like I planned some affair. She called Cole. He did not answer the first time. She called again. On the third attempt, he picked up. Hey, he said. Brielle put him on speaker and placed the phone in the center of the table. Cole, I'm here with Alexander and some friends. There was a long pause. Why? Because Alexander is making it sound like you, and I had some plan before I talked to him. Another pause. I don't want to be in the middle of this. You're already in the middle, Brielle said. Tell them I never said Alexander had agreed. Cole's breathing came through the speaker. I thought he was basically okay with it. My eyes met Brielle's. She leaned toward the phone. No, you didn't. You told me he was almost on board. The silence at the table became absolute. Brielle whispered, Cole. You said he just needed time. Cole continued, now speaking faster. You said he wouldn't leave over it. You said he understood you needed this. I said we were talking. You said the hotel was the last time we had to hide. Rachel covered her mouth. Brielle's face drained of color. Cole must have realized how much he had said because he immediately tried to reverse course. Look, I didn't know you were making it sound like that. I thought you two had some kind of understanding. We did not, I said. Cole went quiet. Thank you, I added. That saves everyone a lot of time. Brielle grabbed the phone and took it off speaker. Why would you say that? She hissed as she walked toward the kitchen. I heard Cole say something about not wanting to be dragged into a divorce before she ended the call. No one at the table moved. I took off my wedding ring. I had imagined this moment in several ways. In some versions, I gave a speech. In others, I walked out without a word. The reality was quieter. I placed the ring beside my plate. Then I set the spare house key next to it. Brielle came back into the room with tears running down her face. You planned this, she said. No, you planned the dinner. You wanted to destroy me in front of everyone. I gave you several chances to tell the truth privately. You could have protected me. From the consequences of what you did. From this. She gestured at the table, the faces, the silence. I'm not giving you an ultimatum anymore, I said. I'm giving you exactly what you asked for freedom. The marriage ends with it. She shook her head rapidly. No, we can fix this. Not while you call betrayal growth and consequences abuse. I'll stop talking to him. You had that choice before tonight. I was confused. You were confident enough to arrange an audience. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. Alexander, please. I will communicate through writing about the house, accounts, and legal paperwork. Nothing else tonight. You can't leave me like this. I can and I am. I looked at the others. I'm sorry you were brought into this. Then I walked out. Owen was waiting in his car half a block away because he had not trusted the evening to stay calm. When I got into the passenger seat, he looked at my bare hand. It's done, he asked. Yes. He nodded once and drove. I did not feel victorious. I felt hollow, sick, and strangely steady. My phone started ringing before we reached the end of the street. Brielle called 6 times in 20 minutes. Then came the voicemails. The first was angry. You humiliated me. You came into our home ready to destroy me in front of our friends. The second was tearful. I know I made mistakes, but you didn't have to end 9 years like that. The third was quiet. Cole won't answer me. Rachel left. I'm alone here. Please come back. I listened to each voicemail once. Then I saved them and put my phone on silent. The next morning, I sent one message. Future communication should be limited to property, accounts, moving arrangements, and legal paperwork. I will not discuss reconciliation. She responded with 12 messages. I did not answer. The legal process was slow and ordinary, which was probably good for me. There were forms, disclosures, account statements, appraisals, and negotiations. Nothing happened instantly. No judge banged a gavel while Brielle wept. We had to decide who would stay in the house temporarily, how shared expenses would be handled, and how to divide things accumulated over 9 years. I followed the attorney's advice. I kept paying my fair share of joint obligations. I stopped paying Brielle's personal expenses. I canceled subscriptions that were solely hers and transferred the information so she could reopen them under her own name. I did not empty accounts. I did not damage property. I did not post online. I did not send the screenshots beyond the people Brielle had assembled to judge me. That last part frustrated her more than public revenge probably would have. She wanted to argue that I had launched a campaign against her, but I had not. I corrected the lie in the room where she told it, then stepped away. 2 days after the dinner, Rachel sent me a private message. I owe you an apology. I accepted her version because it was wrapped in language that sounded honest. I didn't know she had already kissed him or used a hotel. I definitely didn't know she expected you to keep everything stable while she pursued him. I'm sorry I helped pressure you. I replied, thank you for saying that. I don't blame you for her choices. I do hope you'll be more careful about encouraging life-changing decisions when you're only hearing one side. She wrote back, I will. Sean called a week later. I judged too quickly, he said. Yes. He seemed surprised by the direct answer. I thought you were reacting to the idea, not the deception. That was the story you were given. I'm sorry. I appreciate that. Is there any chance you two work it out? No. He paused. You sound certain. I became certain when she used our friends as leverage. Paige sent only one message. You handled that better than most people would have. I did not know whether that was true. I only knew that anger had wanted me to do 100 things that would have made the next year worse. Owen had been right. Anger felt powerful for 10 seconds. Paperwork lasted longer. Cole's role collapsed almost immediately once the fantasy became real logistics. Brielle told me more than she intended during one phone call about the house. She was complaining that she could not manage a payment she had assumed I would keep covering. In the middle of it, she said, Cole is acting like this has nothing to do with him. It has nothing to do with me anymore, I replied. You don't understand. He said he wanted me. He wanted the version of you that came without consequences. That's cruel. It's accurate. A few days later, Hannah heard from Rachel that Cole had stopped answering Brielle's messages regularly. Apparently, when Brielle asked whether she could stay with him during part of the separation, he told her the timing was bad. Then he said the line that made its way back through the friend group. I didn't sign up for all of this. Brielle reportedly answered, You said you wanted me. Cole said, I didn't say I wanted a divorce case. He was not a mastermind. He was a selfish man who enjoyed being chosen as long as someone else carried the cost. Once the husband, house, money, and secrecy stopped protecting the fantasy. He discovered that freedom came with boxes, attorneys, and monthly expenses. Brielle discovered the same thing. The anniversary trip refund went back into the appropriate account to be handled in the separation. The hotel she had wanted me to book for us remained canceled. Her personal payment became hers again. The discretionary spending that had blended unnoticed into our shared life was suddenly visible because she had to cover it herself. At one point, she accused me through her attorney of using money to retaliate. My attorney responded with account records showing that I continued paying agreed household obligations while declining to pay costs that were solely hers. The accusation went nowhere. 3 weeks after the dinner, I returned to the house with moving boxes. Brielle was there. She stood in the living room while I packed books, clothes, and personal items. The wedding album was still on the shelf. "You're really taking everything," she said. "I'm taking what we agreed was mine." "That's not what I meant." I lifted a stack of books into a box. She watched me for a while. "Cole was a mistake," she said. "I kept packing. I know that now. That does not repair what you did." I ended it. After he pulled away. "That's not fair." I stopped and looked at her. Fair would have been telling me you had feelings for him before you kissed him. Fair would have been refusing the hotel. Fair would have been asking for counseling before asking for permission to continue. Fair would have been telling our friends the whole truth before inviting them to judge me. She looked down. "I was scared you'd leave. So you built a situation that guaranteed it. I thought you loved me enough to give me space. I loved you enough to offer counseling and a clear path back. You wanted space without risk." She wiped her face. "Do you hate me?" "No." That answer seemed to hurt her more than anger would have. "I don't hate you," I continued. "But I don't trust you, and I won't stay married to someone who treated my loyalty like a resource she could spend." She sat on the couch. "What am I supposed to do now?" For the first time in this entire situation, that is not mine to solve. I packed the wedding album last. I did not rip it up or throw it in the trash. The good years had happened. Destroying the photographs would not change what came later. I placed the album in a box, closed the flaps, and wrote "shared keepsakes" on top. We could decide what to do with it during the division of property. When I carried the final box toward the door, Brielle said my name. I turned. "I really did love you," she said. "I know. Then why isn't that enough?" "Because love without honesty becomes leverage." I left. The separation agreement took months to finalize. During that time, Brielle tried several versions of the same argument. First, she said I had misunderstood. Then she said I had overreacted. Then she said I had forced her into a bad situation by being emotionally distant. Then she said Cole had manipulated her. Then she said Rachel had encouraged her. Eventually, when every version required someone else to be responsible, people stopped listening. Rachel remained polite, but no longer defended her. Sean stopped trying to mediate. Paige refused to attend any more clarifying dinners. Cole disappeared as soon as Brielle expected him to behave like a partner instead of an escape. I did not celebrate any of that. There were nights when I still reached across the bed out of habit. There were mornings when I made 2 cups of coffee before remembering I only needed 1. I missed the version of Brielle who had existed before secrecy became her second language. I missed the marriage I thought we had. Grief did not mean the decision was wrong. It meant the decision cost something. By the time the divorce was finalized, our conversations had become exactly what I said they would be: property, signatures, dates, and logistics. Neutral language. No late-night arguments. No discussions about whether I was insecure. No attempts to renegotiate the past. At our final in-person meeting, Brielle handed me a small envelope containing the last spare key and a few old photographs she thought I would want. "You got what you wanted," she said. I looked at her. "No," I replied. "I wanted my marriage." She flinched. "This is what I accepted after you made it impossible." She folded her arms. "You always have to make yourself the reasonable one." I spent years trying to be reasonable enough for both of us. I'm done doing that. I signed the remaining document and left. For a long time, I thought boundaries were threats that harsher people used when they wanted control. That belief made me easy to pressure. I confused endurance with loyalty and silence with maturity. A boundary is not a command about what another adult may do. It is a clear statement of what I will participate in and what I will leave. Brielle was free to pursue Cole. Cole was free to enjoy the attention. Our friends were free to believe whichever version they heard first. And I was free to refuse the role Brielle had written for me. Dependable husband, financial safety net, emotional backup plan, and silent audience applauding her self-discovery. I did not leave because she wanted honesty. I left because she called betrayal honesty and expected me to clap. She asked for freedom, and I gave it to her. The part she didn't expect was that I came with my own. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.